What are the biggest challenges in using grid blending as a backstop hydrogen offtake? Is this more of a technical or a perception problem?
Certainly I would say a technical challenge rather than a perception. There is as of today, you can have 0.1% hydrogen in the grid. So actually when gas comes out of the sea, you have to take some of the hydrogen out for it to be compliant in the grid. So and if you go back to history in the UK, and we look before we had North Sea gas fueling us, we used something called town gas, which was made from coal, which produced CO, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen. So that's what was flowing through the pipes in up until the 1960s, 1970s. I think when we look at injecting hydrogen into the gas grid, it does depend on the percentage you're blending in. I think that's a key. But let's say in general, one of the things that need to be considered, regardless of what percentage you're doing it, I think I touched on a couple of them before. The seasonality of consumption of natural gas is a key one. So for a hydrogen producer, we would want to inject at a pretty much a steady rate as we could. Obviously, that gives us the best business case. But if the demand is up and down like this, that creates some problems for us and how much we can actually inject. You also have to think about, well, actually, it's if we've got an off-taker, but actually we're using hydrogen injection into the gas grid to kind of increase the business case, then you have to think about, well, in what situation would we do that? And that's probably when we've got a lot of excess renewables on the system and we want to buy that cheap electricity and produce hydrogen at a good price. Problem is that everyone else would probably be doing that as well, who's also connected to the gas grid and trying to inject hydrogen in. So actually we'll have a surge of hydrogen potentially coming into the grid all at the same time when it's a windy day, for example. But we are capped at that 2% or whatever it turns out to be limit. So that's on the production side. In terms of what it means about putting hydrogen down the pipes, we have to think about leakage. So ideally we're looking for pipes which are welded continuously. We're looking for pipes that are newer steel or made from plastic to minimize leakage and reduce things such as embrittlement. And the last one, again, I brought this up during earlier, but I'll just re-emphasize it, is the difference in calorific value between hydrogen and natural gas when you're looking at the fuel by volume. So a blend of hydrogen and natural gas will bring down the energy content of that gas in a set volume. Which means you have to increase flow rates. And then there is a potential knock-on effect of what happens to things like compressor stations, what happens to metering, all that kind of stuff needs to be considered. But it's certainly something that all the gas companies, certainly in the UK, are looking at. There's a test facility not too far from us in a place called Spade Adam, where National Gas and other DNOs are looking exactly at this question: what happens when we put certain blends of hydrogen into the national gas grid, and what would we need to change?